Howdy folks, Jolly Grim here. This is going to be a little bit different video on World of Tanks patch 1.20.1. I'm not going to go into the details. There's a lot of people that have already covered that, the good and the bad and all that. What I am going to do is try to explain why it matters, like why your reaction matters, why Wargaming's reaction, why their communication, all that, why it matters. So I'm going to use an analogy that I think best like makes it easy to explain what's going on and like how we can make things better. So I'm going to use some handy dandy future state of the art software. I apologize, I've got a migraine. Like feels like ice picks going through my brain right now. So I apologize if I lose my words, losing my train of thought. Also a little bit sick too, so just kind of hopefully bear with me. Anyway, so the analogy I'm going to use is, yes, the Titanic. To me, this is one of the easiest ways to explain this, like what's going on and how we can help. So if you think of the ship as World of Tanks, Wargaming designed the ship, they built the ship, they convinced people to get on board the ship either through tickets or through free. Like, you didn't have to purchase a ticket. There's no capacity. The more the merrier. And they've been very successful because it's been, over 10 years of success. So, but there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on right now that I think can be, there's a lot of concern, right? So, obviously I'm going to make the analogy to the iceberg and where the ship is headed. And I think it's probably best for me to explain, who's on board the ship right now. So the vast majority of the players, they are in the ship. They're enjoying the amenities. They're a little bit clueless as to what's going on. They don't really care where the ship's headed. They're just trying to have fun. They're playing the game, having fun. The CCs and some other, I'd say vocal people that play the game, like either on forums or whatever, involved in streams, they're kind of on the deck. They're concerned with where the ship is headed. So whether it's because they're making their livelihood streaming, there's very few people that, that's their full-time job. But for somebody like me and the other players, they just want to make sure the game is still around, so they can continue playing. So, just want to make sure we don't sink. And enjoying the view and all that. Now, the employees, the wargaming employees, you got two different types, right? So you got the developers, the decision makers that are up top. They are not accessible. You can't get up there, can't really talk to them. But they're the ones that are steering the ship. They're the ones that are making the decisions that affect the whole thing. Now you have other employees that are, either interfacing with the customers, or they're doing other things on the ship, but they're not really directly involved with all the decision making, but they are going to be affected with where the ship is headed. So, hopefully that's clear. Hopefully that makes sense. And there's different, classes. Same people, you got the paying customers that are, first class, whatever. You got different tiers of, it's just like the Titanic. So, okay, sorry about that. I'm gonna try to cut out every time I blink out. The part that's concerning is, up here with the devs. So as a general, player or whatever, we don't know what's going on up there. We don't know who's up there. We don't know if it's Tony Montana, Scarface, just, doing whatever he wants, it doesn't make any sense. Or if the people up there are like Scrooge McDucking it, just bathing in all the money they make, all the aggressive monetization, they're just getting as much money out of the customers as they can and just having a blast, hitting golf balls off the deck or whatever. They're not really concerned with it, or not looking at where the ship's going, but they're doing their best to milk every little penny they can out of the people on board. But what I think is actually happening is that the devs are uh there's so much going on that they're having a hard time controlling everything, trying to do everything, and their lives are, you know. So let me just pull up this. So the devs, a lot of them are going to be coming from this region, this conflict region. Their lives were upturned. So the people that are making the decisions, yeah, they're, probably benefiting on quite a bit from the monetization and stuff, but they have, some people have been dealing with a lot of stuff that you and I can't comprehend. So there's a large contingent in Minsk, large contingent in Kiev, and other places throughout this region. This is a hotbed for developers, for cybersecurity, cyber criminals. And this is where wargaming was developed, and it's a very complex situation, complex part of the world. There's a reason that the headquarters is officially in Cyprus because sanctions and everything else. Like this is just such a complex area, and major conflict, obviously. So there's no way that this is not affecting the decision making, I would just say. So you have this split. You have Lesta Studios. Excuse my handwriting. I don't know why there's a major gap there. Then you have Wargaming over here. So you have just mass exodus. You have some people going to Lesta, some people going to Wargaming. That's a terrible arrow. And I don't know if anybody knows except for the people involved what that relationship's like. So is there animosity? Is there support? Is there cooperation? I would imagine there's some of all of the above. Like there's just such a this is so complex. I'm not even going to try to like delve into it, but there's no way that this is not affecting things. We just don't know we don't know the details at all. I would even question how the money is being, like, when the money's going upstream. Like, what's honestly, it's I'm just throwing that question out there. I'm not even going to begin to try to like dissect that. So just understanding like what it's not a question I'm even going to try to delve into. But it is something that's probably on some people's minds. Like, where's the money going? What's it being used for? How's it helping? Is it helping people relocate? Better their lives somewhere else. Their lives were upturned. That kind of stuff. Like, hopefully that's the case. Hopefully, just whatever. Not going to get into that, but just understand that there's a lot going on there. So anyway, back to the analogy. For the customers that are on board, it's not like they're unaffected either. They might not understand what's going on with the devs. There's like hardly any, like zero communication, but the way that they feel, the way that the typical customer is feeling, even though they're not in that conflict zone, it's a completely different world, completely different stuff. It's not like they're unaffected though. With the past couple of years, it's been crazy times. You had all the shutdowns, you had mass layoffs, you had supply chain issues, energy issues, you got banks closing, you got inflation through the roof, there's just a lot going on, right? So the aggressive monetization from wargaming on top of that stuff, it's reasonable to expect the feedback and the questioning, that's going on from the average customer. So, and the little bit of the outrage. So I think obviously the best thing to end solution is, going to be communication. So anyway, let me get to another important part of this analogy, and that is patch 1.2.1. So imagine the port. When it comes into port, that's the patch, right? That's where they make changes. They bring on different resources and amenities and try to change things up a little bit. That's also where they're trying to get new people on board. So either you got two different types of people, like on the port or whatever. You got new players and old players. So I think this is a metric that's very, very important to understand if you're wargaming. And it can probably help explain, why I'm making this video and, why it can matter to the customer too. So I'm just going to make a little bar graph the best I can in MS Paint. So let's say the vast majority of the players are the people on board. They're going to stay on board. They're going to, they're kind of oblivious to what's going on, or they don't care, and they're just going to continue playing and hope for the best, and they're not getting off board. So the people in port, you've got a different contingent, and that is the new players and the returning players. Second to turn. There we go. All right, so new and returning. These are the people that are coming on board. Obviously, wargaming wants more of these people. Like, the more the merrier. So getting new players to hop on board when the game is 10 plus years old, that's going to be hard. It's going to be a small number, I would assume. You're not going to entice too many to come on board with, a new patch. Some people might, there's definitely, I see new players all the time. So it's not, it's not like it's not happening. It's definitely happening. But I think the bigger number of this portion is going to be returning players. People that just took some time off or whatever, that saw the patch video or article, and they were enticed by the dynamic maps or whatever, and they're like, hey, I want to check this out, the crew changes, whatever it is. So definitely some people coming back on board or getting on board for the first time. And then you have the other side, and this is where this matters. This lack of communication, even through this common test, you've got people on the other side of this equation, and I'm going to say it's bigger, or the concern is that it's bigger, and that's the people that are wanting to get off board. They are concerned where the ship is headed. They're like, hey, you're going out into cold waters. I don't really like cold waters. I don't like icebergs. I'm going to hop off here. I'm done paying. I'm done. I can't take any more. So that's the concern, is that this portion is bigger than that portion. What the actual metrics are, we don't know. That's something that wargaming needs to pay attention to. I've seen so many. It's amazing the amount of people who are in business and stuff. They don't pay attention to these kind of metrics, and it's baffling. And I'm talking about, I was a data analyst, and I've been like involved in some high level stuff that were truly astounding. How oblivious some people are in top positions, and I'll go into detail on that later. But it's absolutely astounding. So this is something wargaming needs to pay attention to. This is something that I think the average player needs to understand. When the people are coming out with bad, these negative reactions, negative videos, all this stuff. Yes, you might be in this contingent where you don't care. You do not give. You don't care. But it still affects you. So, and the reason why is if this continues to shrink, if you start losing more and more of this middle part, it's going to, the ship is going to sink. It's like ballast or whatever. Take too much weight out of it, it gets too top heavy, it's going to flip over. So, that's the real iceberg, is losing your customer base. So, and then there's a lot more you can go into detail with this. I'm just trying to make it as basic as possible. So this video is not crazy long. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to go on to the next part. Okay, so for this next part of the analogy, I'm going to say, like, maybe we hit this iceberg, maybe we don't. We don't know. There's a lot of people that are scared up on the deck that are like, hey, iceberg, and people. We don't know if the people up top even see it or not. That's the concern. But so whether we do or don't, who knows? So uh, the what happens if we sink? That's I think the ending here. So the vast majority of the people that are on board, they don't go down with the ship. They are able to immediately transport to a new ship, a new game. They can like just forget this game, it's gone, done, whatever, dead. They just transport to a new ship or go about their lives. Doesn't affect them. They're not going down. The employees and the CCs who make a living off this, they're the people in the lifeboats, right? So they're the ones that are going to be directly affected. That's why Wargaming really needs to pay attention to what's going on, to the feedback, to the reaction, and really work on how to improve where the ship is headed. And pay attention because it is going to affect people. So the developers need to understand this. The employees need to understand this. How they interact with the customers and like how the perception is going to be key, and how some transparency and openness and utilizing. So let me just go into the final stuff here. So what can we do to make it better? The transparency, the communication. You have a lot of brain power that will be willing to help you for free, essentially, because there's plenty of CCs, plenty of other people who care about where the ship is headed. They want the game to continue. So if you have issues, we can help. There's like some, we can give you feedback, we can give you suggestions, we can give you ideas that will help you steer the ship and make it better for everybody. Even bringing new players on board, that's the key. Like that's one of the key things is like if you can get new players come on board and get them to stick around, like that's awesome. That's a hard thing to do for a game that's 10 plus years old, but it's not impossible. That is a possibility, very small probability, but it is possible. And I think that can be done through collaboration, through working with people to understand, especially now that there's a split, right? So you have Wargaming and Alessa. Before they were the largest part of the player, but the largest part of the people that are on board were, Russian. So now that there's a split, there's going to be, I would assume there's going to need to be a redefining of how to bring on the Western customer base for wargaming. So Europe, America, whatever. How do we get these customers on board? It's going to be different culturally and everything versus the way it was done pre-conflict. So we can help. It might be difficult waters to navigate, but it's something that you got some people who can help you navigate that. And we all want the ship to get to, continue sailing for as long as it can. So I think that is the final recommendation. So what can you do as a player? I would say continue giving your feedback, continue giving your reactions, whether you make content or not. Just providing a simple thumbs up to a post, to a video, to whatever. If you can, hop on Wargaming stream, give some feedback to Tragic Loss or Ixter or whoever, or leave your suggestions in a post on the forums or wherever you can leave feedback. That gives Wargaming some empirical data that they can use to help make better decisions. So the people that are just out of tune, that they're having to guess what the players want, what they like. If you actually provide that information to them, it's much better for everybody. Now, the better the communication between all parties, the better it's going to be. So between the developers and the wargaming employees, between employees and the customers, like the better the communication, the better this ship is going to be able to traverse the waters. So, uh, I think that's about all I have. That is my suggestion. Let's work to avoid the sinking ship. I don't think anybody wants that. But that is the concern. That is why there's a lot of negative reaction detailing the changes upcoming and like why we think it might be a bad idea. Because if you start losing customers, you get more people coming, like getting off board, they don't have to jump into the water. They're just going to teleport it somewhere else. But the more you lose, the less fun. The more the merrier, the less, at some point, there's not going to be a game anymore. There's not going to be a ship. So, anyway, that's all I got. Hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that helps. Yeah. Have a great rest of your day. I'm going to go take a nap. Later.